uses different filters in there. You saw how you can pump water, and to pump water at that rate takes a lot, to
Yeah.
pump for a house. But anyway, hello and welcome again. Woo!
Namaste. I
Sounds
hope it's
good.
better now.
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
but
Okay, yeah, might be the laptop issue then. Actually, a lot of meetings happen over different sort of channels. So every time the permissions change, there might be something with that.
maybe. Yeah, maybe.
It,
Yeah.
Do
we
you
all
use Zoom?
are learning.
We've stopped using Zoom. At the
Okay,
moment.
then it's
Yeah.
fine because Zoom is having a lot of problems in and out. And
Yeah,
you
I'm
won't believe
curious.
Indian government have a special guidelines to how to use Zoom and why not use Zoom and try other platforms.
Mhm. Yeah, we're just trying to be safe.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, people take advantage of our crisis, any crisis situation, whether it's for good or bad. And you're always going to have people who are going to go do something to tamper and cause problems. But you know what? Here's what's great. We know you're successful because you're resilient and you don't give up. So, welcome. And let's talk
Okay.
about some of the things that you're doing.
Yeah, sure. So we left at the introduction part. So I'm Arsh. I'm co-founder and chief operations officer at Gravitas AI, and we are into artificial intelligence and blockchain space. Our mission is to empower organizations with AI and blockchain solutions so that they can optimize their productivity and enhance the customer experience they want to provide. About me, so I have core interest in operations management and analytics and machine learning. So my background and studies have been in this area. I've been a product advisor to IBM team for IBM Watson core team sitting in New York. And apart from that, I've led world's first healthcare information provision chatbot delivery, and I'm uh, quite enthusiastic about working in artificial intelligence space. I also consult a lot of organizations for AI strategy and these sort of areas.
So, wow. So, I mean, and we apologize for not properly introducing you. I always felt like we already knew you by the time you got back on. So, you have the number one thing to me, and that's resilience. But anyway, so you've done a lot in the AI industry, and I will say this: it's not something when I came up through the engineering world that they were taught us. We had to build it, we had to define it. It's still being built and defined, as far as I'm concerned. How do you feel?
Yeah, definitely. AI has a long history. It goes back to the times of 1950s, back in the times of Alan Turing, where a lot of machine learning algorithms, etc., were being developed. But after that, I think about 1970s, it took a pause. World was heading in different directions. Then 1990, computer, etc., those sort of things came in. And again, it has started picking up momentum in the last 5, 7 years, where the world has realized that there's a lot of potential in understanding and utilizing mathematics to create machine learning algorithms and get insights from them, from those algorithms, get understanding of the type of processes, improve process improvements that can be done, or the type of uses that can be done through the use of artificial intelligence by augmenting human intelligence, such as your perception, thinking ability, or speech, or visual abilities, etc.
Wow. I mean, and it takes and people don't understand this. It's not like you just get an engineering degree and then it happens. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of understanding, a lot of learning. And I tell everybody machine intelligence is, what you mentioned, or AI takes a lot of HI, period. And this is what I tell people. It's only as smart as HI. So AI
But
is intended to make our jobs easier. Go
we
ahead.
have Tim, we have AI, we have HI, and then we have PI as well.
PI.
Okay, and what's a
PI
PI?
is political intervention.
Oh,
Okay,
political,
okay.
political intelligence.
That's
Well, there's
everywhere.
a thing.
Yeah, that's another way of augmenting human intelligence.
So, but people don't understand the elements that go into artificial intelligence. It's a lot of programming. It's not like it just evolved. And we of course we have computers like Watson, who help to entertain us, as far as I'm concerned, into and educate us into what AI can do. But quantum computing has been around for quite some time. and we're still trying to evolve it, right? It's still in that evolution phase, but there's no, this is what I tell people, there is no universal standard.
Mm.
So and until we conform some kind of universal standard, I often wonder how much good does it really do all of us. It might individually make sense for certain people and everything, but until we learn to scale up that one next stage and trust each other and make it a universal application and
Mm.
use universal standards, I don't think it really benefits all of us the way it can. And
Yeah, sorry, go on.
go ahead.
Yeah, there are quite some few important concepts and few important components, I'll say, to build a solution, and that is where we are heading towards. We need to bring everything together. So it's not only about the technology which is there. So technology is an enabler. You can have a go at maths and study and build machine learning algorithms, which are the real backbone of providing augmented experience in terms of human intelligence. But there's also a very important component of understanding the user journeys, so understanding the real world problems, because technology has to sync up with the real world problems to solve it. So, for example, there might be a situation where a person wants to go from one place to another place. Just giving example. So, for that, for getting to that particular situation, what is the technology which can enable that? Understanding that bit is quite important. And then all of this has to be packaged with the right user experience so that it's good to be perceived as well. So yeah, all these three components together, when brought together, form a solution which will be good for humans.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's the whole thing is you have to think it out really well too.
Yeah.
It's I have an invention as well, and it was easy to come up with a big picture of it, but then I had to think about all the little elements that made it more foolproof, right? So it wasn't just about does the GPS work, but how can I generate threshold or build thresholds that generate proper alerts, right?
Hmm.
Because you don't want just any alert anytime. You want
Yeah.
that alert, and you don't want false alerts, right? So you might have it tiered so that you get pre alerts. And then those pre alerts, artificial intelligence will tell you, oh, you know what? That pre alert is getting more and more breached, right? So then that artificial intelligence is starting to make decisions. It can also establish patterns, right? This is something a lot of people don't talk about, is that you can help establish a person's patterns every day. And you might be able to predict, hey, that person's diabetic, but he's going into the candy store every day.
Yeah.
Something simple, right? So send the alert that maybe he needs to slow down, right? Predictability wise, we think that you're going to make yourself worse in a couple of years if you keep going to the candy store every day. So there are ways you can use artificial intelligence, and we've not even tapped into all of them. What are some? Share some of the things you're doing.
Yeah, so we are working in space where we're doing agents, and we're also doing intelligent decision automation systems. And in the roadmap, we are going to go ahead with doing decision augmentation systems. So at the moment, we are doing chatbots and intelligent artificial intelligence systems, virtual assistants. We can do telephony transfers, human transferring a particular conversation to humans. We can recognize images. We can understand information from that and try to understand what the images are about. We are into sentiment analysis as well to understand human sentiments and do a bit of understanding of what the conversation was about, whether the particular person was happy, sad, or it was a neutral sort of expression. We also into quite robust research and development, and we have done our own research and development in terms of producing a natural language paraphrasing capability, which reduces the effort of doing such projects by about 50 to 60%. And we're cutting the effort down in the areas of content curation so that doing the variations, etc., is becomes easier. We're also automating the stuff in terms of getting the user experience right, so that the clients have the capability to do the user experience for themselves. Try to tailor it, work on different sort of A/B testings, etc. And also on the second side, in the technology side, the sort of implementation we are doing from the NLP helps us reduce the number of calls, etc., and the processing power is also increased through that.
No, and I mean, you say all of these things, and then half the world doesn't understand all the work that goes into them. They just know the end result, like a chat bot. Wow, that's great. This thing talks to me, or this thing understands. But you mentioned something that technology has taken that next step to sophistication, and that's called understanding our sentiments, right?
Mm.
Understanding and potentially expressing some empathy, of which we know technology hasn't had the ability to do, right? It has not been able to find a heart yet. Can we program it to? Maybe we can program it to understand when a person's not feeling happy, right? And it can give some expressions.
Mm.
It's kind of scary. I've had Siri express some things to me
Yeah.
once.
Hmm.
I understand where you're coming from. It's quite important while implementing such technologies that ethical standards are followed. And at Gravitas, we do follow ethical standards. Whatever is prescribed, a lot of countries are still working on ethical documentations for artificial intelligence, and more will be coming in future. But yeah, having that threshold to understand where technology should limit itself so that it doesn't interfere completely with humans is something which is quite important in developing these solutions.
So you mentioned that you worked with some other companies. I think some of them sounded like the big corp. These are what you learn about is not crossing over certain boundaries when you are working with the public. Um, so are you still affiliated with any of the companies right now?
I do consult a lot of companies. So basically, on the AI strategy bit and effective implementation of AI solutions. So, for example, I'll just give an example. So, for healthcare information provision board, for example, if you're trying to develop that, then it's quite important to have an understanding of developing a solution which provides information, but exactly that is not a prescriptive information. So the tone of voice and the type of implementation which needs to be done has to be done in a way that it takes care of that, so that the perceive. It's important to understand that the user which is sitting on the other side, how they will perceive the information and what impact it will have on that particular user. Because ultimately you're providing information which can be sensitive to different people, and some may not be sensitive to some people. So you need to remove that bias out of the solution to understand and effectively optimize the solution so that it's well received from everyone. It's useful for everyone.
No, yeah, and I mean, and these are things that need to be looked at moving forward. What are some of your favorite projects that you get involved in? Because AI can be fun; it really can.
Yeah, so it's very interesting subject for me because the first thing is that I love mathematics, so I really get excited with the algorithms. And secondly, it's about augmenting human intelligence, which is quite exciting as well. So yeah, very close projects I'll say was the healthcare information provision board. So that was a really close project for me because we're doing something for the people, and we're investing a lot of time in understanding the areas where it can be a problem as well, because you don't need to want to develop a solution which can cause some problems, right? So effectively doing user research at each and every point of time is quite important in AI solutions. So that is something which, so that particular project is very close to my heart. And apart from that, the NLP R&D project. So I'm a techno-functional guy, so understand technology, work on it as well. But I've had a background of being a developer as well. So that research and development to improve the existing process, so that we can reduce the time for developing such projects, delivering such project solutions. That is something which is also very close to my heart.
No, I mean, and the thing that gets is interesting is that this is just going to get bigger.
Hmm.
Everything that this is not something that we're just developing now. This is you're building the future, right? Again, we say it's been around. A lot of people don't even know it's been around for 50 years. You impress me because I can talk to people and they talk like it's only been around 10 years, but no, you knew that it's been around for 50 years. A lot of people don't even know that quantum computing has been around for over 50 years. They just didn't know what to do with it. They still don't know what to do with it. Because, they are just now releasing it for people to attach things to. But again, there has to be some sort of universal standard so that we can start enjoying the resources that are growing and everything. What are some areas, we talked about some of the things you like to do. Let's talk a little like sci-fi. What I like to do sci-fi is, where do you see this going?
Well, to be honest, it's difficult to predict, like the COVID-19 situation. But having said that, I see the current state evolving into a stage where we'll have more informed decision making in the next 4 or 5 years, and that will be driven through artificial intelligence. Businesses will use artificial intelligence to understand the insights. The current situation, we in some developing nations, we are moving towards that state, but overall picture, I'll say we are in a stage where we are doing some sort of conversation provision, information provision, or some sort of process automation through bots at the moment. But going forward in 3 4 times, there will be a lot of decision augmentation stuff which will happen. Uh, Conversation log analysis, understanding what the real users are saying. Based on that, trying to develop some meaningful insights by doing some modeling, predictive analytics, clustering techniques, conjoint analysis, and those sort of things. So I'm talking a bit technical, but those sort of techniques can be utilized and will be used going forward to understand more about businesses. What should be the next steps the businesses should take? What are the KPIs? How these KPIs? What does this KPI reflect, and how users are reacting to the current marketing strategy or sales strategy of the organization, etc.
So,
And
what we need.
how important is the data when you do all kinds of AI algorithm and things like that? Because if you don't have a quality data, whatever you will do on the AI level, it won't give you that much amount of results. So, what are we doing in terms of checking or managing or maybe maintaining our quality in terms of data?
Yeah, so data is quite important. Data is the new oil. So it's quite important in AI solutions because AI solutions run on data. So effective cleansing of data is required. Every AI solution has a purpose, and for solving that purpose, we need to understand the underlying principles for to solve that particular purpose, right? So for example, if I have a subject A to solve, then I'll have 8 10 indicators which will help me understand how to solve that subject. Okay, and based on that, I'll have drill downs. Like I have understanding of which data layer or which data extract supports decision making or enablement of that particular layer. So I'll get a data dump. So basically, if I'm talking to interacting with the users, for example, we are interacting right now, and we are generating a lot of quality data, and some of which will be important, some of which will be important for some people. So when we get that data done, we start analyzing what data is actually quality data for a particular use case, and then we derive that data, cleanse that data, and we'll something around it, some modeling around it to understand whether this particular data has got the right variables which can indicate that this particular decision making can be enabled to that data. So that's the way it works.
So that is what a company can do. But if we talk about at a global platform, suppose in COVID situation, we have to exchange data within each other. Uh, like a global platform, maybe WHO might be sharing data from a lot of countries, or vice
Mm.
versa. At that point of time, you're not sure the data which is coming from a country like Singapore, or a country like Australia, or a country like India. The data is a good quality data, and you can use it and define decisions or make decisions based on AI. How we can? So I'm going to the reverse engineering. How we can plan a good data for our AI solutions? That is what my question is.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we need to obviously, in this case as well, and other cases, we need to understand the exact use case, what we're trying to solve, and then what data and what source of data will be useful for that. So, for example, WHO is trying to solve a particular problem, and they might need data from different geographies. So they extract that. They try to understand the data which is available, and based on the particular use cases requirements, They fetch important components from that data, and then it can be used for effective solution building. I hope that answers.
Yeah, that answered, but I'm just talking much in detail that anyone can interrupt the data, or anyone can kill the data, or anyone can do a lot of changes in the data, and then the solution or the decision will hamper. So I'm
Yeah,
talking about
so I got it. You're coming from a
yeah,
data security perspective. Yeah, so data security is quite important.
yeah, that's
We
what.
work in an era where we have a platform as a service, cloud services we use. So cloud services are quite robust, resilient in terms of security, and we can always utilize scale up in terms of storage of data, utilization of data, bring in more servers, bring in more machines, bring in more applications and services. So we can always combine that up. So yeah, we have got a very good framework in terms of like the big cloud providers like IBM, Google, etc. They have got quite robust security facilities. So in that ways, that security challenge has been solved by them at a very high level. And this is where the world is heading. The platform providers are providing what you need, and the solution makers are using that platform and the applications, etc., to wield things which are useful for people.
And also, Ars, I mean, you know that when we talk about AI or when we talk about bots, people think about election. But
Mm.
bot is not just about election; it's about more than a lot of other things as well. So,
Yeah.
if you can just describe for our viewers how many different kinds of bots we have, or how we can relate the bots with different industries.
Yeah.
General,
So
general question, because it's there are viewers who are non-technical, so they just want to understand what is bot.
Well,
yeah.
and two, I want to hear his explanation, but Ankit, if you could pull up some examples, like you showed me the one on the one website that you built, and we've got one on ours, but if you could, while he's talking about, I think people would understand it more if we showed that. But go ahead and share with us,
So,
and then we can do that.
yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, so chatbot is basically a conversational system. So we all have experienced in our lives live chat systems. We worked with that for a long time. So chatbots essentially conversation systems which are not supported by humans, but basically they're trained by humans. So at the end or the back end of the chatbot system, there's a machine replying to you instead of a human replying to you. So that is the basic definition of a chatbot. And then these chatbots, when start working on some sort of automation activities, etc., they become assistants because they're assisting you. So that is the next level. So you get to a level of chatbots, then digital assistants or virtual assistants, and after that, there's some decision automation activities which they start working on. So, for example, in organizations, and it is applicable across sectors, a lot of work which is done. For example, an IT support, guy works on a lot of BAU requests. Every day they get a lot of simple requests which they just need to answer out, or they get a lot of password reset requests, which can be automated by the bot because an IT support guy need not invest their time into resetting passwords, spending 20 minutes to 1 hour per day on that. They can concentrate on something else. So that is the automation part. And then the chatbots can be more intelligent. So these chatbots, when become more intelligent, they absorb a lot of data, which can be done, and that data can be used through deep learning algorithms, machine learning algorithms, to understand what the user, which is conversing with the chatbot, is trying to ask, or are they happy, are they sad, or is the conversation meaningful in terms of like they're getting what they wanted from the chatbot, or they were getting what they wanted from the customer support. So that sort of information is being passed or not. So all that data then can be analyzed, and what I was talking about, decision augmentation, that can be used as KPIs, dashboards, etc., for particular like stakeholders in the organizations. So that is moving towards the organization journey. But having said that, there can be chatbots which and there are chatbots which help in natural language conversation just for chatting purposes. I remember there's one, I think, with Soku, which is just a conversational chat, but it talks about normal day-to-day stuff like me and you chatting on a regular day without any particular business interest. And you keep on talking with that, you keep on chatting with that, you can get some good jokes from that particular chat. So that is another level of sort of engagement. So it all depends on like the type of use you want to make of the machine and the technology.
And
Yeah.
also we have a lot of internal process bots as well, where we set up a process for a bot, and that bot will do or follow that process every now and then whenever there's an update on an application, or an update on a website, or an update on an app, or things like that. Because
Yeah.
that also helps you ease your work, and you just focus on the work, and then rest the process will be managed by the bots. So we can
Yeah.
have different kinds of bots for our day-to-day use as well.
Yeah, that is quite important as well. That is a decision automation bit. For
Yeah.
example, in Europe, it's GDPR is quite important, right? So a chatbot can take requests from the external user about a data delete or data update request, and the fines are really hefty in GDPR. So you can mitigate that risk through the chatbot because you're not available 24/7, and you might miss some inquiries, and the repercussions of that are quite huge, right? So you get all that information. You may even automate the bot to get a request and process it through your internal systems and do the action and send a notification to a particular stakeholder that this is done.
And that's one more basic question, that you know that there are a lot of tech companies who are working with on machine platforms for machine learning, and they take a lot of APIs and servers from companies like Amazon and Google and things like that.
Hmm.
And you know that whenever they use some kind of a voice-based API, as a technology guy, I can capture that they have taken it from Amazon or Google because of the voice accent.
Hmm.
So how we can overcome these situations? Because it's easy for me to get to know that this person is using an Amazon service, or this person is using a Google service, or this person is using something else. And I mean, I think although they are working on the accent, that they are creating multiple accents for different languages, but still it's easy to understand as a tech guy that what kind of services they are using. And I think that way, for me, I see that as a bridge between them and the company. But why can't we have a custom voice accent for each bot? And I would like to know what kind of accent you have with Tina on Gravitas.
Okay, yeah. So I'll ask the last question. I'll answer the last question first. Tina has got a very neutral accent. We'll try to keep it neutral, but it depends on the technology we're using. The second part of your first question was about can we develop these sort of technologies? Yes, it is. It can be developed because everything is starts with basic maths. You keep on developing. You do
Yeah.
algorithms. You do get a lot of data. Train the algorithms with that data, and you develop a speech capability. The first part of the question was about Amazon's and the IBMs who are providing the speech capabilities, etc. So these organizations are quite they're huge. Okay, they've got a lot of data. Like Google has got data, no one in the earth has got that kind of data. Okay, so their processing capabilities, the size of servers they have, the size of applications they have, that's immense. So the direction in the world which the world is heating is that these four giants are providing the technology solutions, but there are then technology companies which we are using those technology solutions to develop technology, use the
Okay.
sorry, use the components to develop the technology solutions. So
Yeah.
that is the segregation which I'm seeing at the moment. Having said that, it's quite possible to develop the solutions which Google is doing or which IBM is doing. Like we have developed our own NLP. Okay,
Yeah.
in spite of having the AWS robust NLU engines or the IBM works on NLU engines, but we have tried to develop something which increments the value of that. So it's all about value incrementation and development of a technology solution. So you need to weigh and understand which one works better and how you can improvise and those sort of things.
And what about Tina?
Yes, Tina works on our algorithms and sits on the cloud services, etc., which are provided by Giants. We are not into cloud space. We are
Okay.
a artificial intelligence company. We focus on building solutions which can empower organizations and can empower people as well. So we are into that space. So our business mission is that, and we are heading into that space. And we are quite happy to utilize the applications and the cloud servers, etc., which are available by these giants. And having said that, we always look at an opportunity because we have got a research and development wing which focuses on understanding what can be done to increment the value from the existing resources.
And Arsh, in the next 5 years, what kind of industries you want to target and improvise or integrate your AI solutions? Because pre-COVID, there were different market, different situations, and post-COVID, the dynamics have been changed completely, and we might be having new requirements from industries and different countries and different cultures. So, what are your 5 years plan implementing AI in different industries? Do you have any target that I have to target these industries apart from healthcare?
Yeah, apart from healthcare, we have a focus on education at the moment, and that is something which we are working towards. It's a quite important industry, not only from a commercial perspective, but also from a usability and it's a quite important sector. It's quite beneficial for if we have solutions which can empower education as a sector in developing or in other nations, so that information can be provisioned effectively. Courses can be taught effectively through artificial intelligence. Those sort of things. We're working on that at the moment. Also, we have got an enterprise bot which works across sectors. And after this particular situation, it's quite important to have virtual sort of engagements, because human resources are not available quite a lot at this time. And going forward, there might be change in the ways of working, etc. So the sort of solution we have enables organizations to effectively cut down on the time and effort they spend and the cost they spend on human resources. But this will not definitely cut down the jobs, because then you're empowering the organizations to have some time with the resources to work on something different, which is more innovative. Okay, so we are into that space that we can help our organizations. We can empower all sectors through our specific offerings, but having said that, we also can develop different solutions. At the moment, healthcare, education, and real estate and banking, these are the 10 sectors we are focusing on. But as we grow, we'll look into other sectors as well.
And how the market of AI works? Do you go to to the clients and close the deal, or you have a lot of clients coming to you and asking for AI solutions?
It works both ways. So sometimes we go to conferences, etc., where you get to understand problems of users. Sometimes it's a spread of word of mouth by one client to other client and those sort of things. So it works both ways.
Okay, great. And Viri's from Australia, and they are also working on a lot of AI solutions. And I think I want to know
Yeah,
a lot of things. Yes, Viri.
yeah. You said something about blockchain. Tell
Yeah.
me about that.
Okay. So we are working in the blockchain space, but not into the cryptocurrency side of it.
Okay.
We are
Yep.
using
Yep.
blockchain for document storage, and we are in the process of developing a very niche solution, which
Okay.
will revolutionize the vendor management aspect. So that's something which is in progress. I'm hoping that it should be out in a couple of months.
Okay. I'm sort of looking more at the blockchain smart contracts
Yeah.
as yeah, and when you're doing like in finance space,
Mm,
when startups are looking for money, that they are kind of matched, but it's all matched equally, as opposed to one of the big problems in startup space when you're looking for finance is some of the VCs take you for a ride. They don't have any money, but they don't tell you that.
yeah, that is something.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've started venturing into the investor space. We want to get an investor on board now. So we just started experiencing the problem and understanding the nuances of it. So that is the right
and
time to
that's
answer your question. But yeah,
yeah, that's a sad thing. So what I'm looking at is okay. Both sides, you have a due diligence checklist,
mm,
so that as a starter, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this investor on my checklist, it would have been ticked that he has money or he doesn't have money.
mm.
Otherwise, why am I wasting my time talking to him
Yeah,
if he
that's a
if he
very
doesn't have money?
that's a
He
very
may
fair
have some
point. Yeah,
he may have some contacts, but that's
yeah.
not here. He's here. And what is he after? Is he after a free lunch or free dinner? So
Yeah, that's a very fair point, and it's difficult to resolve that. We can use technology to understand that, but that will require a lot of data to be pulled through, and that has to be authentic data. So I'm not sure how it can be done at the moment. But yeah,
no, and that's the great thing with the COVID. So come post COVID, we can always call out bullshit. If some scenarios have been persistent from what we inherited from the past, we can say, hey, that's going to stop now. This is post-COVID. We can always use post-COVID to cut away some of this bullshit.
Yeah, that's the human intelligence part of it, not the augmented part.
And no, I see and I feel because like Shark Tank was a good thing, good movie, but the way it was set up was really humiliating for these startups to come in and these people run rings around them. How it could have been done better is if they both side had, okay, tell the startup, do your homework. This is what's going to be entailed when you come up to the show. So when he goes there, he doesn't look like, oh, sorry, I didn't do that. Oh, sorry, I didn't do that. Like, come up there and, when the shark asks a question, tick. Ask question, tick. He'd have all the answers.
Yeah.
And, don't, because I asked the chairman of the angel investors here in Australia, Melbourne, and he said, oh, I'm interested in like a Shark Tank like show. And he said, seriously? If you do something like that, forget me. I said, why? And he said, why would I go front up to a national television show and get humiliated? And yeah, they just didn't want any part of it.
Really, it's about this basically, because of money, humiliated, and that is what's happening. This was really,
Yeah. That's what important.
it's all about the dollar note.
Something about chatbots is something that we were talking about the other day too, is something that is international language, right? So if it's a means that we can convert the language so that it can speak many different languages, that I think is something that's really big. So if somebody comes to IBM TV and they see the chatbot and they go, oh, I speak Chinese, and maybe they can click something and it translates everything for them. But, being able to communicate at a different level. One, the chatbot's a great idea. I think it's revolutionized the way we can communicate with our people, the clients, without having to be real invasive or having somebody always there. People are a little more open to a chatbot than they are a human for some reason today. I'm the other way. I just want to get on the phone and talk to somebody. But today's generation and our future generations are more engaged to a chatbot. So I think that this is what we need to do. How would somebody get a job with you? If they were looking to get a job, how would they hire on with you?
Okay, so that depends on the type of skills.
What I'm looking for? What kind of skill sets does a job like this have? That's why this conversation came up. If somebody was looking for a job in this industry, what kind of skill sets does someone like you look for?
Yeah, so there are different aspects. So as I talked about, three components in developing a chatbot. One is the user journey, the second is the user experience, and third is the artificial intelligence itself. So from a technology perspective, so this technology resides on cloud. So definitely people who have expertise in cloud, setting up cloud infrastructure, and then managing people are experts in full stack development of a particular cloud solutions. So for example, an AWS full stack engineer, and people who have expertise in Node.js, Python, those sort of languages. And apart from that, the other aspect, so these are some of the examples of the technology requirements. It can be an HTML guy as well, because you need a user interface to talk to people. Apart from that, it's quite important to understand the user experience and give it a good thought so that it's depicted well and is perceived well. So user design, a user experience person is very much required in conversational chatbot projects. And also someone who does a business analysis to understand the actual use case. What does it want? What do we want to solve? How can we solve it? What are the components of that? Those sort of stuff. And then you need a project manager to work with them. So, or a scrum master.
Yeah, that's huge, right? And a lot of people, and again, I'm glad that you allow me to ask you this question because a lot of people don't understand all of the elements. Again, all the
There's
people.
one important, sorry, there's one important aspect that we just missed. It is about the content because content is very important. So, working on the content and getting it into a shape which is right to be trained, and is more importantly in the right tone of voice which the chatbot has to deliver. So that is very important as well. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, 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 no. Please interrupt. We are coffee shop style, right? We're not. There's no formal, and sometimes I interrupt people
Hmm.
because I'll hear a point that I really think we need to emphasize. So, no, no, no. I think content is very important. When I went to the National Association of Broadcasters for the first time to learn how to train to be what TV should be, the number one thing was content and how important it is and the quality and what you put into it, but associating it to your viewers, right? Associating it for the need. That's very difficult. That's a full-time job right
Yeah.
there, especially in bot chatting,
But
right? How does a bot chat? That's what I want to know. How does a bot know? How does a bot chat? I know this technology is fabulous to me. It's as an engineer, I just find it so sci-fi, right? It's just we've escalated to that next level, And I love the name. I don't know who actually officiated bot chatting and chatbot, but I love the name. It's just it's way cool, way sci-fi.
I'm
Yeah.
going to build my own chatbot, and the name of the chatbot is Dot Chica.
Dot.
Oh,
Okay. And what is it going to talk about? We're going to be a
No,
walkabout. We're going to
no, I
do a
just thought
walkabout.
I just thought I'd give it a female name. It'll be in finance, but I'll just So I've already taken the domain name.
okay.
wow.
We need a
Yeah.
money
So,
master.
we
If you
can,
are working
we
in that area
can
and if you need any assistance, I will be happy to talk.
Oh,
Thank-
see,
thank-
Willie, there you go. Willie has been very successful. He's been on our board for a while, but he's from Australia, and he's been through this COVID, has come around and still done other businesses. He didn't stop, right? He didn't let it stop him. So, and we have Katal.
How are you guys?
Hi, hi. And we
all
got all of
good.
this great conversation going on. Do
I
you
have a question for Ketul and us basically. The question is that can we make secure payments using chatbots?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can. That
Ketul
was
is from
that
the
was
That's what I was going to ask. Do you know what a
So I
chatbot is?
was interviewing both of them. So Arsh Ketul is from the payment industry. He works for CG Payments, and Arsh is running an Gravitas artificial intelligence company based out of UK. And both of the gentlemen are there. So let's talk about
Well,
how
that's what
quick.
I wanted to know. Do you know what a chatbot is? And
yeah, I know. Actually, it's very interesting topic. I was listening Arash's conversation, and that was one of the thing that I was looking into it last year, like how to have the payment solutions integrated with the chatbot. So like for example, when the customers are on chatbot, right, especially talking to someone try to resolve their issues or stuff like that, and over there, if you have to include the payment option, let's say like they have to buy a service or something, right, online or something,
Yeah,
how can they securely pay for that?
yeah,
Instead of going through a different window,
yeah,
they can finish the entire dues on one window. And that
Mhm.
is what actually one of the interesting topic. Not a lot of people are understanding, first of all, about the chatbot, how useful it is and all, but it is one of the topic that I was looking into it, and I will more research on that.
Yeah, so
Yes,
we
yes,
have solved that problem. So we do integrate with payment gateways. So, for example, we do integrate with Stripe, and we can work on with others, and we do
yeah.
take care of the PCI DSS compliance in that area, and all of that in one window where you can just talk to chatbot, move on to the payments, whatever you're doing, and then do the payments, etc. And it will be still in the same window. We can provision videos, images, etc. in the same video.
Mm. See, there you go. So we have a person now who's already integrated with the payments.
So we got this connection going on here, people.
Yeah.
This is what
We'll have to chat
about.
about it, Ketul, sometime.
Yeah, definitely. When I have like some budget, for this, and when we have a proper requirements, I'll definitely reach out to someone who has knowledge about like how do the integrated work.
Okay, it's Gravitas AI.
So connecting the dots here. Well, I want a chat bot that goes out and talks to other chat bots for me and negotiates for me. Right. So, so let's get some integrating chat bots.
That's a very interesting use case. I'll be happy to research on it. Definitely, this is really important because going forward, you'll have a lot of chatbots conversing through. So yeah, that's a really interesting use case. You have shown the light.
Well, because
But
if you
what
think
about
about it, it is a good use case. It really is. And now that we have a few chatbots out there, why not have them so it makes them universal and they can communicate for us, and we understand and learn from each other's chatbots too. Yeah.
I like how you brought up that we need to have standards, because otherwise, if chatbot is not so much have a standard, you'd be like YouTube. There's no standard, so you have a whole lot of garbage on it.
Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
what I tell
I think
people.
it's quite important. I think this is
Yeah.
quite important while developing these solutions because this has got a very close connection with human intelligence. So we're talking about
Yes.
human sort of conversations, and when that is involved, so if we converse with five people, we develop rapport with some people, and some things sometimes go in a different direction. So we need to
Yes.
manage that sort of expectation, and that sort of ethical standard should be in place while developing solutions, so that that situation is avoided.
Yeah. And
It's
there are a lot of other use cases about the chatbot, like how board the customers and like have like a lot of customer information. Basically, you can like float around on chatbot, so you don't need to have like any physical person on the phone or like constantly like email exchange and all that. You don't need it when especially you have the chatbot. Customer can pay for everything, whatever the services that they want, and it's like a one-stop solution kind of. It's interesting topic.
Yeah.
it's
Definitely.
a
But
concierge.
I would like to know
It's an
one thing.
electronic
Can we
artificial
make
intelligence.
payments using voice bots?
Yeah,
Hers?
voice bots.
Sorry, I couldn't get you.
Say that again, Ankit. A voice bot.
Can we make payments using voice bots?
We can make payments through chatbots, but we haven't
Actually, I'm
developed a
talking
use
about
case.
voice bot
Yeah, so
basically.
that should not be a problem to solve because
Okay.
ultimately it's a sort of type of conversation which you're doing with the bot. So if you are able to pass the instructions to the bot, then it will do the action. So as I talked about, there are two aspects. One is the conversational ability, and the other bit is the automation ability.
The
So if you
information.
solve the automation ability and mixing it with conversation ability, so it should not be a problem.
And
And
do you think it's a secure thing, Ketul, to do payments using voice bot?
that is what I was about to say. Like, the security, we shouldn't compromise that part as well.
Yeah.
Here, security is a major point. And there are like some other ways also, like, for example, like some 3D secure, or like, this is more like a dual authentication and a lot of other like process that is like inbuilt, like you can integrate it on your chatbot, which is like connects through your mobile phone, and then you have to enter the like your pin or something, whatever, like the way, like how to make it more secure. That is most important here as well, because
Yeah.
there are a lot of data floating around on chatbot, which is also very high risk environment to easily hackable kind of, so we have to make sure that it's more secure the way it is. Like it depends, like how, what is the use case of the chatbot, is like what chatbot can do. It's totally based on that. Like if you put like payments on it, if you put like some statistical data or something like that, it's getting more complex, and you have to make sure that it's more secure the way it should be. So
Completely in agreement with
How
that.
about
I look at a chatbot. I look at it as it can be looked at as an electronic concierge, like what they used on the cruise liners, right? They started using something very similar. It wasn't a chatbot, but very similar technology as your concierge, right? It has information that it can return information, but I also look at it as a guard. Right, it could be that first layer of somebody talking to you on a website, but again, sometimes when you have layers, it's harder for a hacker to get in. So depending on your use case of how you're using it, and of course I work in cybersecurity, so now I'm sitting here kind of inventing how else could I use a chat bot. Could it be used as that other layer before people can come in and do things? So, that's something, a use case maybe I'm going to have to take a look at myself in the cybersecurity world. But and another thing you have to look at too are privacy laws, right? But it's that first layer, right? And again, layers are what? That's how that we protect ourselves, whether we wear layers of clothing, whether we layer our walls and our security, whether we layer our doors, right? Some buildings have 2 or 3 entry doors before you get in. So it could just be that extra layer that confuses a hacker as well. So
Yep.
it's something to look at.
And it's also important for the customer that they are talking to the right person, on the chatbot. The other side of the chatbot is not like somebody's like who's
Ooh,
getting
what
all
number
this
is this?
information.
Am I really talking to Donald Trump, or is it Donald Trump's assistant, or is it right? Yeah, I got it.
Could be, yeah. So that's why it's important. Like, what is the outcome is goes to where,
Right.
that's
Is it really Brad Pitt, or is his an assistant? Right. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
that you get a lot of tweet from Donald Trump about it.
Yeah. No, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There is a
tweet is quite interesting because you can develop Twitter bots. The full profile is a Twitter bot, and they tweet or catch your tweets and retweet it. So that's an interesting concept as well.
Well,
Yeah.
a chatbot can become receptive. The more AI you build into something, this is what I tell people. I worked when AI was learning how to be trained. I worked in the labs with Fujitsu, which was interesting many, many years ago. I worked in telecom, but they had other labs, the telecom part I worked in. But they were training an arm, a hand, on how to juggle a glass, right? And then you add another glass to it, and how not to. But it was training to learn, right? And that's. But it can only learn as much as we feed it, and it only learns what we feed it, just like a child's brain, right? So yes, it can do a lot of things for you. That guard out there that is your chat bot could eventually become that additional security, depending on what you feed it, right? So
Mhm.
it can be out there and be your extra eyes, like what we're using for drones right now, right? We might send drones in to deliver you a hot dog at the stadium, but that drone also has an extra pair of eyes, and he's scanning for any bad people that shouldn't be there. You see what I mean? So there are ways that you can start evolving this technology to serve you 5 different ways. Right now, it's a fun tool. It's engaging. It's educational, but it can eventually become far more, if you start evolving it to be. So, and also to help you find the right transfer payment that you need. Maybe you didn't really need that today, or maybe you should set up a monthly, or maybe, so it might sit there and watch your patterns, like we were talking about pattern training with AI. And AI is designed to watch your patterns. And then it's going to come back and tell you predictively, if you keep behaving this way, you're going to fall off the cliff.
Yeah.
Predictively, if you keep going to that candy store every day, you're going to put on 10 pounds, Kim. So it can do that, right? So chatbots can become your AI to help collect data patterns. Like maybe you had 10,000 people come and ask you the same question. Whoa, we got a problem here. They're asking us the same question. We didn't educate them right. Those kind of things. And so productivity, predictive policing is what I call it. Is really probably your next better part of this tool for any industry, especially the fintech. I don't know if you call yourself fintech. I kind of call you fintech, finance technology, but
That's fine. Yeah, I can take that.
That's quite important in terms of the understanding and the continuous improvisation and improvement of the chatbots. So once you develop a solution, it's not the end of the journey. You keep on understanding what is being asked, and analyze what users are asking, what sort of responses are being given, and whether that is something which is an apt response or something which might need to tweak or retraining. So keep on evolving through that particular journey to make your work more efficient.
Yeah. And I think you just need to take a look at what your customers like to do as well.
Yeah.
We've engaged with putting a chat bot on IBM.TV. It's been interesting, and I kind of like having something
Thanks to
high tech like
thanks to us for no no thanks to us for giving us that bot
oh,
to
that's
put
where
on
it came
IBM TV.
from. Okay, so you see, wow, thank you, thank you. No, so I like being new in
And now
technology.
we are waiting for now we are waiting for Ketul to share the payment gateway so that we can put it on IBM TV.
Yeah. So you can charge some subscription fee, and I can take the payments.
There you go. Well, that's what we're working on here. So now we got the
Exactly.
whole team, right? We got the whole
Yeah.
team because it takes a team, right? And that's what IBM TV is also about, is just networking the right people. And also we talked about, there's so much content out there. So we have an obligation to be educational, informational, good quality, right? So none of the bad stuff, profanity, porn, integrity. We really promote integrity and inspire the power of positive thinking. But we felt like when we started doing this, especially getting new TV shows to come on, that we connect worlds that need to be connected. Worldly, not, I mean, one of you's in India, one of you's in New York, one of you's in Australia, and sometimes you have somebody from Malaysia, and you never know. They might
Yeah.
need to be connected. And
I'll tell you one more thing. We are working on a new show which is called AI for the World, and I think we will talk to us maybe after the show that how we can plan that
how
show.
we can connect.
That is how we can utilize AI for different businesses around the world,
Yeah.
because a lot of people would like to understand how it works and then they will implement it. So it's about that, and how we can make things more proper, and how we can utilize that AI part and take more better decisions, especially
Sure.
during this pandemic. So that is what we are working on. Let's see.
And one of the
Yeah,
things
that's
we're also working on is cybersecurity show, which doesn't seem to launch very well, but maybe because they're too busy working right now.
But Kim, we have already started talking to Ketul, and we will be coming up with a payment show every week.
Yeah, we got a
Discussing.
payment show coming up. All of this is
And,
great.
and today's discussion was how small businesses have been changed since the payment gateway arrived. So Ketul was, we'll be discussing about that. So Ketul, over to you.
yeah. So first of all, I would like to say, I think this is really good, platform to talk about cybersecurity, payments, new technologies like chatbots, or any other way. It's more a really good way to have everyone on board and talk about this, because these topics are very, people are not really talk about this topic that often. So everyone's more interested towards movies industries or politics and all that, but nobody cares about that much about technology, and the future of how the world is going to be with the new, the security point of view. So I think it's a good start. And especially in US right now, there are a lot of small businesses are struggling. So the whole point